pleasure to present to you my adorable granddaughter, Stacy America, the golden country. I'm very grateful to the American people and to the United States of America for letting me and my wife and my daughter Isabella came to this country in 1948. I am a survivor of the Holocaust. I was born in Poland on July 3, 1922, in the city of Tarnów. The population in Tarnów was about 50,000, from which 23,000 were Jewish in our town. From time to time, there were some anti-Semitic outbreaks, but in general, we, the Jewish people, learned to live with it, that condition. Then in 1939, September 1st, the Germans attacked Poland, and a terrible ordeal started for the Jewish population and the Polish people. At the same time, the Polish people started to be more anti-Semitic than ever before, having great satisfaction from the new Nazi ruling against the Jewish population, not realizing that the Polish people in the end will have to pay the price too. In the beginning of the Nazi occupation, things got worse every day. Every day were new victims, people were found dead in the street, shot, for no reason whatsoever. There were at the same time new ordinances against the Jewish population. The first thing they made us wear a Star of David on the left arm. They used to catch us to work on the street, put it on trucks, and take us for working for nothing for them. And from time to time, they used to beat us up. There was no reason for it. They just used to say, you dirty Jew, you filthy Jew, you have to learn how to work. So that we never did work. That's what they were thinking. And as time went on, every single day there were more new rulings against the Jewish people. There were more sanctions. There were more demands. They're starting to take away the Jewish businesses. They start to give out ordinance that when you see a German soldier, you have to get off of the sidewalk. You have to travel in the trolley car behind the people. When you see a German soldier, you have to give him the seat. Well, we thought that this was unbearable. We didn't know what was in store for us later. The Germans were masterminds in deception. Then come, all of a sudden, they called in everybody who has some kind of trade should come to report it to the Gestapo headquarters. They set up different tables at different places with SS officers manning those tables, those stations, they call it. And they give out stamps. Some had a K, and some had the seal of the Gestapo. Nobody knew what those stamps meant. This happened sometimes the end of April. Then all of a sudden, that was happening in April 1942. All of a sudden, on June 11th, we didn't know what exactly did happen because we knew that every street in the Jewish neighborhood came carloads of soldiers with machine guns and said they're going to transport us to different places to work. They call it concentration camps where you have conditions to work, which was a lie. I remember, like now, I went down to the Yudgrad. That was the Jewish head of state for the Jewish people in the city of Tano. And there I met my girlfriend, Ella, and we decided that we should go home. They said everybody to go to the marketplace. And I and Ella, we went home. She went to her home and I went to my home. Under appeal, the Obersturmbannführer has announced which religious Jews want to have services, attend services. They will be able to attend services in our camp. They will provide all the necessary tools to conduct a Jewish service. They provided the scroll, they provided a shofar, they provided the shawls, they provided prayer books. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it that it's really happened. But we're supposed to get packages from Red Cross, but we never got any. And the food becomes a little scarce too. They used to give us rations of bread, larger ones than normal, but they cut it back and they gave us less and less and less. Naturally, in each camp, the psychosis of hunger went on. Everybody talked, if he's going to survive this war, that he's going to eat cheese, he's going to eat steak, he's going to eat strawberries, he's going to eat, he dreamed of all kinds of food because we were hungry. And one day, an appeal came a very important guest. He was a Obersturmführer. His name was Dr. Seidel. He was the right hand or some connection with Eichmann. And we had one representative, which was a German Jew. His name was Soldinger. He was a very nice man. And he spoke with them, and they spoke with him, and he told us that some of the groups will be transferred to Birkenau, to another camp. Some will go to Theresienstadt from us, but not yet. It's not yet been decided when this is going to happen. In the meantime, time went on, and I was working as a shoemaker. The German soldiers came in, the SS, they wanted to have, they had problems with shoes getting, they wanted to have shoes made to order. So I told them they must bring material, and I requested extra material. So we'll have, in order to make very good shoes, I lied to them. I tried to get as much material as I could, and we made them shoes. And then came the poorer soldiers, which could not afford it to bring in the material, and they asked for shoes, so we said we can make them a pair of shoes. We have some material, but we would like to get some bread and some cigarettes and some other things. What he did, he brought us knackwurst, and he brought us bread, and we gave him the shoes. Then my mother got sick, and I had accumulated some 50 or 60 cigarettes, which I got in tips, and from the German soldiers. And I needed a medication which was called some kind for the heart. I don't recall what it was. And I needed a pillow for her. She didn't have a pillow, so I made a trade with the German soldier. I gave him the cigarettes, then there was short cigarettes too, and he brought me that medication for my mother, and thank God for that, my mother has survived. I remember now the medication was Digitalis. And sometimes in April, in the beginning of April, again came that Dr. Seidel and brought a list which group will go to Theresienstadt and which group will go to Birkenau. It turned out most of those people which had Paraguay and Uruguay passports, they were sent away to Birkenau. Even Mr. Soldinger, which was the commandant right hand, the Jewish representative, also went away to Birkenau. And 2 days later, they put us on a transport, and they told us we are going to Theresienstadt. And that was around April the 9th. I remember we were traveling on a train 4 days, and we couldn't go through. We couldn't go through anymore. The Americans had advanced in April 1944, 45 I believe it was, and we couldn't go through. All of a sudden, we have seen an American tank got lost. They had some problems, and he spotted that train. All night, the night before, they were shooting. The artillery shells were coming back and forth, crossfire over our train. It was shooting. We had an aboard gentleman by the name Milton Cantive. He was from Philadelphia. He was a genuine American citizen. He came to visit in 1939 Poland and couldn't get back anymore. He spoke with the Americans, and then 7 minutes later, he was surrounded about 50 tanks, the train, American tanks, and a couple of the Germans which were left to guard the train were taken prisoners, and the rest had escaped. And we found out from the two which were left over that they went to get some kind of blowing up powder to blow up the whole train. We shouldn't pass through because we couldn't get through anymore. And this was, I never forget that day. This was the day when we were liberated, was the 13th of April. That was the same day when the President of the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, died. The American officers were very nice to us. I'll never forget. They made the German farmers bring us cooked potatoes in barrels because we were very hungry. And we started eating those potatoes, and we ate the potatoes. And some people got sick because they start eating too much at one time. You're not used to eat, so it was not so good. And they took us in, laid them in trucks to a town which was called Hillersleben. This was right near Magdeburg. And we came, they throw out the German population from the houses. They gave us the houses, and we stood there. I remember everybody ran to get something. I ran and I found a place where I found marmalade, and I was wearing knickers. I put them in the knickers. I was running, and the glass of marmalade broke on me, and I had my feet full of marmalade, and some jars had survived. But a few days later, I got very sick. I had typhus, fleck typhus, and I was taken to a military hospital there, and a German nurse attended me, and she kept on asking me, what's going to happen if the Russians come here? Because the Russians are supposed to take over that part of Germany. And I didn't know what to tell her. I don't know, the Russians. And I said simply, I don't know. So she kept on saying, I don't want to tell her because I want to get even with her. I let it go. After I was sick for 4 weeks. I got out of 4 weeks later from the hospital. I was registered as an American citizen. So the American authorities, in order to expedite my homegoing to the United States, had taken me and the other American people and put us in a train towards France to see the American consulate in Paris, and from there we will get visas to go to. Unfortunately, we found out on the way on the train when they examined our papers that we are not really citizens, so they will have to send us back to Germany, and I didn't want to go back to Germany, so I escaped. Me and Mr. Spett and his daughter and his wife and his son, we escaped in Namia. We were placed in a cloister, and we escaped from Namia. I must mention, where did we escape to? We escaped to a priest, a Monsignor. Somebody told us, go there, and he's going to keep you, he's going to hide you. I don't recall his name. But this was a man, wherever he is, if he is alive, may God bless him. If he's in heaven, he should have the best which can be in heaven. He was such a good man. He treated us so kindly. He got up in the middle of the night. He didn't have enough beds, so we lay on the floor, but he gave us blankets. And he used to cover us if somebody was uncovered. After staying there with him a few days, we celebrated Yom Kippur in Namia, and we were invited to an American, Jewish American soldiers. We had a dinner with them together after the fast, and it was a most wonderful time, wonderful feeling. And a few days later, the same priest made arrangement with a lady which owned a chateau in Dartmoor in Belgium, that she should give to our disposal that chateau which she did not live in it. She lived in Brussels, but she used it only for a summer home. And we got that chateau from her. May God bless her for it. And it was I and my wife, Mr. and Mrs. Spett, we lived together in that chateau. And after a couple of months, I got a letter from my father that he's going to try to get papers for her as soon as possible, but since I was born in Poland, the quarter was closed at that time. There was a period of waiting at least 2 to 3 years. I lived in Dartmoor for about 4 months, and then I went by myself to Brussels, and I found a room, and I found the Jewish organization. I found the Hayas, and I went there, and they told me they're going to help me to move over here, and I'm not allowed to work because I had only a white card. I was called in transit. In other words, I only stayed in Belgium temporarily. the Belgian government would not give me permanent stay, since I had plans anyhow to emigrate to the United States to my father. My mother, she went 1 year ahead of us because she had prepared quarter. And she went to the United States, and despite the fact she didn't see my father for 25 years, but somehow they stayed together. And I didn't suppose to work, but I came to Brussels. I see it's no sense to stay and live on charity, you know. I found a job working for a Mr. De Smith, selling frames for pocketbooks. I went out to sell those frames, and I had a little hard time in the beginning, but soon I catch on to it, and I starting to make some money. And I didn't become rich. I just about made a living. The times were tough there in Belgium right after the war. But I had enough money to get an apartment, and it was a furniture apartment. And we lived there in Belgium waiting for the day when we get the visa to go to the United States. I was lucky I was not caught working, because the Mr. De Smith was a very influential man in Brussels, and he had a factory in the sun, and they had their way how to protect me. And I worked, and I made a little money. My wife became pregnant, and we had a little girl. Her name was Isabella. And then came that day when we finally have received the visa to go to the United States. That was a great day. We came over to the United States. I remember we came in through Canada. You couldn't get any planes or ships. The ship's name was Skytia. We came into Quebec. In Quebec, we went to Montreal. And from Montreal, we traveled all night to New York. When I came to New York, I remember it was November 15th, 1948. And my father and mother lived on 28th Street in a furnished room. My father was an older man. I never saw him. I didn't recognize him. I had mixed feelings about him. I didn't feel really much love for him, because after all, he left the house. He's supposed to send for us, and it took us 25 years till we got together. So I don't know if they didn't get along with my mother, or my mother didn't get along with him. What happened, I never knew, and I never found out. But I was always not too close to my father. He was a very nervous type. If you go on a bus, you start a fight. He was a nervous person. We lived together for about 10 years, me and my wife and my mother. I started a job when I came here in Austrian Brothers, and I've seen that from 30 to 50, I'm not going to make a future in this country. So I asked him if I could get a raise, and Mr. Austrian said to me that he has people working 10 years for him and never got a raise. So I decided that I'd take a chance and go it on my own. And I don't regret it, I did. I had my ups and downs. I started peddling shirts, and I took a stand on Park Avenue in the Spanish section where the market is, on the front of a gentleman by the name Nathan, which was selling chickens in the store, and I had a stand in the front, and somehow I survived with this and made a pretty fair living. Then I bought a store for $500. I put down $300 cash and $200 on notes from a Mr. Gelb. He became a taxi driver, and I took over his business. It was a very small store to go up on a stoop on Moore Street. I was there for 9 years. I did not have very great success there. And then the neighborhood changed, and my business went under. So here again, I started up again. I went in the wholesale business, and it started to go better for me. I sold slippers. I bought them by Hawaii Footwear. Slippers to stores. I remember like now, it was 85 cents a pair of slippers. I sold them, and the slippers cost me 70 cents. I made 15 cents in a pair of slippers. But this country is the most wonderful country, and it's the best country in the whole world. With this votes, it's still the best. And it has a lot of votes too. As I worked in the wholesale business, I worked myself up, and then the company which supplied me the sneakers went under, and I started, by coincidence, with the sneakers. I started retail and wholesale business at 155 27th Street, and I started and become successful, and every day more successful and successful. I bought a house. Before that, I had about $5,000 to pay in. I didn't have a penny left, but I bought the house because I had to get out of my neighborhood, which was changing rapidly. My daughter came home one day and said some kids touched her by the breast, and so I got out of the neighborhood and moved to Flatland State Street, where I bought the house. And then I regretted because I got sick. I didn't know at the time, or maybe I suffered a heart attack or whatever it was. I had to stay in bed for 10 days, and I was sorry I bought a house. But thank God this house brought me luck. Business I went back to work. I worked 7 days a week. I worked in a part-time job, and I had a lot of different things going, doing things. I was not lazy. I if somebody would call me in the night, I sold radios. I went down to sell them radios in the middle of the night to make 15 cents on a radio. And after this, my neighbor bought a piece of property in Florida, and he talked me into buy one, and I bought just property, not knowing where it was. And I paid $53 and some cents every month. And for 7 years I paid it. In the meantime, the place where I had, the landlord came to me. He said he wanted a raise for the rent. Or if I want to buy the building, you take a small down payment. And so I asked him how small down payment would he take. So he said he would take $10,000 down. So I said, all right, we have a deal. And I bought this piece of property for $10,000 down. And the mortgage payment, he took the mortgage, was the same amount, $1,200, which I paid him rent. Plus, I had to pay the taxes too. I stood there in this business for 14 years. For 14 years, then I hoped to buy my daughter a home. I bought another house in Florida and another house in Florida. I bought a shopping center in Florida, which I still own at the present time. The business went down and the business went under, but I owned the building and the business. The business was like a corporation, it didn't affect my name. I sold the building and made $250,000 profit. So I retired because I had to retire. I have a heart condition, I'm a diabetic, and I'm happy that I retired. If you want, in this country, it's the greatest country in the world, you can make it. Here is the sign. I came with no money. I am not a very rich man. I'm not a poor man. But I make a comfortable living. I retired comfortably. I own this home here. I own a nice home in Florida. I own another home in Florida rental. I own the shopping center, which I hope to sell one day and will bring me a profit. Right now it doesn't, but one of these days it certainly will. So, this is the story of a survivor, which was meant to survive. I went through a lot of hell. I didn't describe in my descriptions of survivorship all the troubles I went through, the hidings and the closeness of death many times, but this would take too much time, and it's too hard for me to keep on remembering those things. I want to get away from those memories. I just made that tape that maybe I have 6 grandchildren, wonderful grandchildren. I hope one day they'll listen to it and they remind themselves what their grandfather and grandmother went through. I have 3 lovely daughters, educated. One of them has a PhD, one of them has a master's degree, one of them had a couple of years of college, but they're all wonderful children, and I have 6 lovely grandchildren. Love them all. And this is the story which I had to tell, and I'm saying to you, to my grandchildren, this is a great country. Love it with all your heart. And if you have to die for it, don't hesitate. Die for it. This is the country to be. With all its faults, even you cannot go out at night today. You are afraid. But times will change. When we came, we could walk at night. The people will change, and you will be able again to walk at night. It goes through with phases, everything. So I say to you, God bless America, and remember that all the time, that you live in the home of the free and the brave. This is a good country. May God bless it.